You know, like a lot of you, I'm sure, I've always thought, gee, I wish Transformers knockoffs could be bigger. This is the completely ridiculous convertible Spacebots 4GT. Yes, this oversized knockoff Transformer was actually officially licensed by Ford. And Ford wasn't the only one who got in on this. There was also a convertible Spacebots Chevy Camaro. Oh, yeah, these aren't knockoff Transformers at all. They have a recycling feature. I mean, converting feature. And this is yet another Transformers knockoff that is made to be specifically distributed by Big Lots. These ridiculous sized Transformers knockoffs are apparently at a 1 to 12 scale. I tried looking up this Speedwell International Industrial Company, but all I found out was it's a company that exists in Hong Kong, which is also where this PD Toys is out of, and looking them up I found they made other vehicle type toys. Now if you're wondering why I chose the Ford GT guy over the Chevy Camaro one, well, there's pretty much one simple reason. This guy having the Ford logo right on his forehead. That's all kinds of wonderful. Now, the actual Transformers line has made some pretty big Transformers, but what I love about these guys is they just look like simple, stupid knockoff Transformers blown up, which I guess makes sense since that's exactly what they are. I mean, just look at their stupid decal stickers. Those just look brilliantly cheap. I mean, except for this one. Officially licensed, you know. An absolutely stunning profile shot on this guy, too, with his stupid thin head. I take it both of his fists are supposed to be silver, but looks like they kinda missed a little bit on his left one here. We'll just cover that disgrace with his wonderful hood shield. The weapons he comes with, well, look the same as him, like they were smaller things blown up. It might have been nice if the weapons could have had a little paint detailing, though the main figure itself barely has any paint detailing, so I don't know what I was thinking. They at least did put a sticker on his big gun, which is a kind of amusing one. This toy does not require any battery. Do not remove any screw. Made in China. As if we had any doubt. Kinda seems like they knocked this weapon off of something that did actually have electronics, and this was the battery slot. Well, no sticker tells me what to do, so looking inside, and yep, sure enough, that's exactly what this is, a battery compartment for 3 cell batteries. Thanks, iWork. Glad these were officially licensed by Ford and Chevrolet. The transformation of this figure is pretty simple because, like I've said, everything about this is just a smaller scale figure that's been blown up. Really, the most irritating part of the transformation is getting certain tabs to stay in while you're popping in the other ones. But once you got them all in, you've got your officially licensed knockoff Ford GT Transformer car. Woo! If you do have any problems transforming it, they at least give you some instructions for your robot mutator. Of course, why wouldn't the instructions have an alternate name on them? They also nicely left me this slip. Having problem with this toy? Before return it to the store. And then you can email them, I suppose. Did you guys have a problem with this toy? Well, I suppose here's part of my problem with this thing. Part of the name on the one I actually bought is convertible. So let's see how this thing looks with the hood down. Just awful. It's great to go driving without the windshield. At least you'll have the pleasure of sitting in that hollowed out fist while the wind flies in your face. Other than that, I can at least say that this thing does look better in vehicle mode than robot mode. I mean, it does at least resemble a Ford GT. Well, besides those things, no Ford GT I've looked at has had those, but maybe that's part of what makes it a space bot, because nothing else about this really says space bot. I mean, besides it being a Transformer. And apparently you need to watch out for the head as it can detach from its little flap. And guess what? Just so you know, batteries don't go in the head either. What the hell is this? A battery compartment? But they told me batteries don't go in here. Well, I suppose that answers the question of why there was a button on top of his head. Besides its ridiculous size, one of the most amazing things about this stupid Transformers knockoff is it's an officially licensed knockoff by Ford. And this is only more amusing by the fact that there's been official Transformers with Ford licensing on them before, including a Ford GT of Mirage. While this isn't a completely terrible Transformer, there really is a lot to be desired here. There are a few spots on this guy where some paint detailing would have really looked nice, and the spots where they did actually give this guy some paint are rather spotty. There's areas that didn't quite get covered correctly, and you can tell it was just done by spray paint, and they weren't particularly careful while doing it as the details got a bit blurry and paint got over spots that they shouldn't have. And those sticker decals, well, just look plain cheap. Besides having the actual Ford logo, of course. I think most people expect a little more from a Transformer at this scale, and I absolutely love the lazy covering of the lack of electronics with stickers that just say, "Don't open this! There was electronics here! They're gone now!" But despite all the failings on this guy, it does have a rather decent robot and vehicle mode. They just could have been made a lot nicer. 5. I'll give it to these guys for actually getting their silly Transformer knockoffs licensed by Ford and GM. That certainly was something amazing to see on a rip-off toy. Also, they were a bit ambitious to make them at this 1:12 scale. 6. It's certainly odd that these car companies actually gave their license to these silly knockoffs, especially when they both have done official Transformers before. Guess it was just some easy money. I'm sure Ford and Chevy needed it. Besides that, the weirdest things about the actual figures are the blown up feel of this larger toy, and of course the amazing placement of the Ford logo on the forehead. The Ford head! 7. The package is really just a carded figure being housed in a sort of half box, which really isn't my favorite type. Also, the logo is just plain text, which isn't super impressive, and I think they kind of forgot that convertible might make people think of something else in relation to a car. These figures don't have a lot to do with space, so hey, apparently you can also pick these guys up as car bots as well. The only difference between a car bot and a space bot is apparently the color. And it's not too shocking, you can also find these guys under the Robot Mutator name that was still on the instructions. Under this release, electronic functions are still intact on the gun in the head. Also, the Camaro is looking pretty stupid movie Bumblebee here. Oh, and was that not enough variants for you? Well, you can also find these guys under the Mutator collection, which also features some mini-bots and an Optimus Prime colored Ford Mustang. Though he's not as cool since he's only a 1:24 scale. Loser. Oh, and why not one more name? Apparently now put out by the amazingly generic name Kids Stuff instead of PD Toys, it's the Interchangeable Robot. Wow. 6. You could do worse for knockoff Transformers, and if you wanted a larger scale figure on the cheap, this isn't too bad, but you get what you paid for! 6. And the bootleg zones overall is 7, raised mostly by my intrigue at seeing these huge Transformers knockoffs receiving official car dealers licensing. Prepare for the nation!
Excuse me, Mr. Convertible Space Spot, but I'm afraid I'm going to have to place you under arrest for sullying Ford's good name.
Oh, that's rich coming from you, robotic fighter.
You don't have any room to talk either, transmutation former.
I beg your pardon. I'm a first-grade product. Robotic fighter and transmutation formers inferior. Convertible space spot superior. We are actually officially licensed product by Ford.
You are fucking kidding me!
Read it and weep, suckers. Well, Ford, my donkey.